Innuendo, Book 5 of the Todd Mills Mystery Series. Author, R.D. Zimmerman. Publisher, Scribble Pub Press, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 18. They met at D'Amico and Sons, an upscale Italian deli on Hennepin Avenue South, with a tall ceiling, open kitchen, dark woodwork, and a faint resemblance to things Tuscan. When Todd saw Rawlins push through the double glass doors, he saw not the familiar man he was attracted to, but a near stranger who looked preoccupied and distant. And the first thing that Rawlins uttered was, "You look tired, Todd." Todd wanted to say, "No, I'm just stressed. Stressed about you, about us, about where we're going." "Yeah, I'm exhausted," he replied instead. "You look it, too." "Tell me about it." They knew the routine, and they moved silently to the large, arching glass display case and studied the very 90s array of salads, sandwiches, salamis, and olives for a long, indecisive moment. Todd looked at them all, the roasted vegetables, the couscous salad, the chicken and feta rotelli, and realized he just didn't care. "Do you know what you'd like?" asked a server, a tall young woman with a body like a boy's and cropped blonde hair tucked beneath a black baseball cap, emblazoned with D'Amico and Sons. "Ah!" In the end, Todd asked for the chicken penne, a small Caesar, and black coffee, and the woman leaning on the counter wrote it all down. Rawlins ordered the pizza of the day, a concoction of artichoke hearts and feta cheese, and a glass of the house red. Todd let Rawlins pay. They were almost to the joint checking account stage of their relationship, but not yet, and as he watched Rawlins write a check, which were accepted just about everywhere in the Twin Cities, more often than not, without identification, Todd wondered if the two of them were now going to make it to the banking phase of their relationship. "What are you getting coffee for?" asked Rawlins as they sat down and waited for their food to arrive. "Are you on at 10 again?" "Actually, I was going to be," replied Todd, taking off his coat and hanging it on the back of his chair. "But I'm not." "What do you mean?" Todd had held out when they talked briefly earlier today. He had mentioned Tim Chase, and he wasn't going to, at least not yet. If Rawlins was going to start a game of poker, then Todd wasn't going to take the high road. Hell no. He'd play right along, too. He volunteered simply. "I have a meeting at 9. "Oh, with whom?" "Right. This was poker, and Todd decided he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to play his lucky card, the one that would dominate the conversation. Just yet. No, he thought, looking across the small table. He wasn't going to tell Rawlins, if for no other reason than he didn't want to sidetrack things. He had to keep things focused on Andrew Lyman and Rawlins. "It's not important." Never a fool, Rawlins studied him for a long moment. "What's the matter? Everything okay?" "It's been a long day, that's all." As he unfolded his napkin in a manner that was much too deliberate, Todd realized that the test hadn't concluded last night. No, Rawlins was still taking it. This was part 2, otherwise known as the second chance, and if he failed this part... shit, thought Todd. He already didn't know how to handle this. He leaped right in with the acid question. "So anything else new regarding Andrew Lyman? Anything turn up?" The issues of Andrew Lyman and infidelity lay there, oddly, horribly, like a loaded gun waiting for someone to trip over it. Rawlins raised his eyes, and Todd was sure, looked at Todd with more than a little suspicion, and Todd sat there thinking. "Yes, you fool, I know," Rawlins said. "Aside from the knife, not really. But you still think it was the murder weapon?" "It fluoresced blood when they sprayed it with luminol, but I don't think they'll be able to get a blood sample off it. After all, it was sitting in water at least overnight. With any luck, we'll be able to get some prints, but I don't hold up much hope for anything else." "And the mom?" "Like I said, she came to town alone, which was strange." "I mean, where was her husband? Why wasn't he here?" "I don't know. Why?" "Beats me." Todd looked at him with a cocked eye. "Divorced?" "No, not that I know of, anyway. But there's something strange, and I bet you dollars to donuts that it started when they found out Andrew was gay." "Homosexuality, the ruin of many a families." Todd felt Rawlins' eyes upon him, felt Rawlins studying him. Okay, so what of it? So Todd was being pissy. Rollins leaned forward, cupping one hand over Todd's, and with those deep, warm eyes that had hooked him right from the start, said, "Man, you have had a long day, haven't you?" Todd withdrew his hand, cast his eyes to the side. No, he didn't want to be pulled out of this. Rollins had a gift for that, using those wondrous eyes or the subtle grin to lighten Todd's mood. And Todd was determined not to let Rollins charm him tonight. "Just tell me whatever happened," he wanted to say. "Because I don't care, I just can't stand silence. Do you get it? It's silence that makes me crazy. And I love you, and I need to know about Andrew and you right now. No, actually, I need to know if there's only one of you, and if that person is all mine. Or are there two? One guy who loves me, and a second who loves many others." "Well," continued Rollins as he fiddled with a fork, "there is one other thing, something I don't think I told you. Do you remember another kid Andrew was with, sort of tall, long hair?" Of course, Todd knew who he was talking about. The very kid who'd leaked the news. But he said, "No, not really. He's maybe a year or so older than Andrew. Nice enough looking. I think he was at the meeting we spoke at. And it turns out that he's from the same town as Andrew. His name's Geordie Weaver, and I think they had something going on, even back then. They were either little lovers or fuck buddies. I don't know." "Really?" "Yeah, and it looks like the two of them ran away together, came all the way here." Well, Todd didn't know what to say. Everything or nothing, and instead the snottiest came out. "So what do you think? Was our little Andrew the whore about town?" "Is that what happened the other night? Do you think the two of them, Andrew and this Geordie—" "Jesus Christ, Todd!" snapped Rollins, glaring at him. "Even if they were doing tricks, which I don't think they were, it doesn't mean Andrew deserved to have his throat slit." Todd looked out the window and stared at a plain yellow car. "I'm sorry. No, of course not." They sat there in silence. A moment later, Todd looked over, saw Rollins eyeing some other guy, some young stud with a bubble butt. Okay, great. Maybe this wasn't the big romance of Todd's life. Maybe they were already through it. Maybe they were already finished with the best that they could be together. And maybe tonight, Todd was just trying to make that perfectly clear. Maybe he was merely trying to drive Rollins screaming from the table. With a cloud of savory steam, their food descended in front of them. Todd looked one look at the beautiful nuggets of chicken, the glistening tubes of pasta, and realized this wasn't at all what he wanted. Not some nice meal, not some pleasant place. Fuck. He wasn't even hungry. He glanced out the large glass window, saw the same yellow car sitting there. Yes, the traffic on Hennepin was building to a forceful crawl, and yes, little by little, the Twin Cities were growing up, each year becoming less and less toy towns. Again, Rollins leaned forward and, in the gentlest of voices, said, "Todd, what's the matter?" Some bullshit came to the tip of Todd's lips. He was going to say something about the station manager, something about running around all day, but then he tripped over his own insurmountable need to know. He speared some pasta with a javelin-like pitch of his fork, and said, "You haven't been holding on me, have you?" Balancing a slice of pizza in hand, Rollins clearly flinched. "What?" "Let me be as blunt as possible." "So what else is new?" asked Rollins, with a nervous smile, having been on the receiving end more than once. "Is there more? Is there something about Andrew Lyman that you haven't told me?" Todd watched him, studied his every facial tic, the cock of his head, the way his hand quivered ever so slightly as he put the uneaten slice of pizza back down on his plate. Oh, shit, realized Todd. He'd backed Rollins into a corner from which there was no escape, and this was it, the final acid test. As Todd knew only too well from cornering a politician or a developer or a murderer, you learn more about a person by what he didn't say than what he actually did. Yes, that was the horrible truth. Actually, there is something, confessed Rollins. Todd's gut flooded with relief. Yes? Ah, shit. Rollins wiped his mouth, even though Todd didn't think he'd taken a single bite. Sure, in this long pause, Rollins was weighing something. The consequences, and Todd's heart began to pound. "Todd, it always comes down to this, doesn't it? It always comes down to our jobs. You know, that's the one thing that really scares me about us and our relationship. Our careers. It's the one thing that we keep coming up against, that we keep butting heads about." "What?" replied Todd, afraid that he was in fact understanding. "There is something else about Andrew Lyman, something that I haven't mentioned, but But as a cop, fuck, Rawlins, don't do this to me. Don't fuck around. I just want a simple answer to a simple question. And I'm just telling you, I don't believe this. What we both know, that as a cop, there are certain things I can't say to you. Todd Mills, Star reporter. Shit. If they'd been at home, Todd would have gone completely tilt. He would have started yelling, started stomping around, and waving his hands and cursing at the top of his lungs. Because instead they were in a public place, he somehow mastered control of his fury. Every one of Todd's muscles tightened rock hard as he somehow perfectly folded his napkin and laid it down on the table, put his fork quietly down on the plate, then reached behind and lifted his coat from the back of the chair. Todd, what the? I've got to go. What? There's something I haven't told you either. That meeting, it's actually, well, a date. What? You heard me. Date. I've decided maybe I do want an open relationship after all. Todd was glad for the instant pain he saw burning on Rollins' forehead. I'll see you later, like much later. Wait, pleaded Rollins in a hushed voice that was pathetically weak. Todd, don't do this. Don't go when you're so upset. Please, sit back down. Sorry. He pushed himself to his feet. I just wanted you to think about this. I know. A wildfire of shock whipped across Rollins' face, and then Todd turned and started for the door, wondering just what in the hell he was walking out on. A plate of pasta, or the greatest thing in his life. A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.